Imagine a world where freedom was a dream, a whisper carried on the wind. For Robert Smalls, a man enslaved in the heart of the Confederacy, that dream was about to become a desperate, audacious plan. On a dark night in May 1862, he stood on the deck of a Confederate warship, the CSS Planter, peering into the inky blackness, knowing failure meant certain death. This wasn't just an escape, it was an act of defiance that would ripple through history. Tonight, the stakes were unimaginably high. Smalls, a wheelman on the Planter, was about to execute a scheme so daring, it seemed plucked from the pages of a spy novel. He wasn't just escaping, he was hijacking a Confederate vessel, packed with weapons, right under the nose of the enemy. But before we delve deeper into this incredible true story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community. You won't want to miss the captivating tales we uncover each week. Robert Smalls' journey began in Beaufort, South Carolina, in 1839, born into the brutal reality of slavery. His mother, Lydia, was enslaved by the McKee family, who, unlike many, allowed her some autonomy. This unusual upbringing, coupled with Smalls' innate intelligence, provided him with a unique, albeit challenging foundation. He witnessed the horrors of the institution firsthand, fueling a deep-seated desire for liberation. At age 12, Smalls was sent to Charleston, a bustling port city, where he was hired out to various jobs. From lamplighter to rigger, he quickly absorbed the intricacies of maritime life. The docks were a crucible of knowledge, teaching him about ships, tides, and the movements of vessels. This practical education would prove invaluable, unknowingly preparing him for the destiny that awaited. In Charleston, Smalls met and married Hannah Jones, an enslaved hotel maid, and together they started a family having 2 children, Elizabeth and Robert Jr. His family became the driving force behind his yearning for freedom. The thought of his children growing up in bondage was an unbearable weight, transforming a vague hope into a concrete, desperate need for escape. By 1861, with the Civil War raging, Robert Smalls was assigned to the CSS Planter, a Confederate steamship. It was a transport vessel used for delivering dispatches, troops, and armaments. As a wheelman, he was responsible for steering, gaining intimate knowledge of the ship's layout, its capabilities, and the waterways around Charleston Harbor, including the formidable Fort Sumter. Smalls observed the routines of the Confederate officers, noting their habits, their weaknesses. He realized that on certain nights, the white officers would disembark, leaving the ship in the hands of the enslaved crew. This seemingly minor detail sparked a revolutionary idea. The Planter could be taken. The seeds of the audacious hijacking began to sprout in his mind. The plan, however, couldn't be executed alone. Smalls carefully confided in a select group of the Planter's enslaved crew members, men he knew he could trust with their lives and his own. He laid out his audacious vision: commandeer the ship, pick up their families, and sail directly into the Union blockade seeking freedom. The risk was immense, but the promise of liberty was a powerful motivator. May 12th, 1862. The night arrived. The Confederate officers, as predicted, disembarked for the evening, leaving the Planter's 11 enslaved crew members alone on board. This was their moment. The air was thick with anticipation, fear, and a burning hope. Smalls, now acting commander, gave the signal. With precision and quiet urgency, the crew began their work. They raised the steam, prepared the lines, and loaded the ship's valuable cargo of 4 cannons and a significant amount of ammunition. Smalls, dressed in the captain's uniform and wearing a straw hat, took the helm. He was no longer a slave. He was the captain of his own destiny. The first critical step was to pick up their families. Smalls expertly navigated the Planter to a prearranged rendezvous point, a wharf near the city's North Atlantic wharf. Under the cover of darkness, Hannah, their children, and the families of the other crew members silently boarded the ship. The emotional reunion was brief, overshadowed by the immense danger that lay ahead. As the Planter approached Fort Sumter, the ultimate test of their deception began. Smalls, mimicking the Confederate captain's gait and mannerisms, stood on the pilot house, waving to the fort's sentries. He blew the correct signals with the ship's whistle, a series of familiar blasts that indicated a friendly vessel. Every second was a breath-holding gamble. The signals worked, the fort's sentries, completely fooled, allowed the planter to pass unmolested. A collective sigh of relief swept through the crew, but the danger wasn't over. They still had to navigate through the Confederate minefields and reach the Union blockade without being detected by other Southern patrols. Freedom was tantalizingly close, yet still so far. As the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, the planter sighted the Union blockade ships. Instead of the Confederate flag, Smalls ordered a white sheet hastily tied to the mast to be raised. This was a desperate signal of surrender, a plea for help, and a declaration of their allegiance to the Union. Would it be recognized, or would they be fired upon? On board the USS Onward, the Union ship nearest to the approaching vessel, confusion reigned. An unknown Confederate steamer was heading directly towards them, flying a white flag. Was it a trick? A trap? The Onward's crew prepared for battle, their guns trained on the approaching planter, ready to unleash a devastating barrage. Smalls, seeing the Union ships preparing to fire, urgently ordered the Confederate flag to be lowered and a Union flag to be raised, if they had one. They didn't. Instead, he stood prominently on the pilot house, revealing his identity and yelling out to the Union sailors, hoping his words would carry across the water. Finally, the Union officers understood. The impossible had happened. A Confederate ship, seized by enslaved men, was surrendering to them. The USS Onward ceased its preparations for firing, and a small boat was dispatched to meet the planter. As Robert Smalls stepped onto the deck of the Union vessel, he declared simply, "I am Robert Smalls, sir, and I have brought you the planter." News of Smalls's incredible feat spread like wildfire throughout the Union. He became an instant hero, a living testament to the bravery and ingenuity of enslaved people. The planter, a valuable asset, was immediately commissioned into the Union Navy, and Smalls was made its pilot, becoming one of the highest paid African Americans in Union service. Smalls continued to serve with distinction in the Union Navy, participating in numerous engagements. He piloted the planter through dangerous waters, demonstrating remarkable courage under fire, even taking command of the ship during battle when his white captain faltered. His actions proved invaluable to the Union war effort. After the war, Smalls returned to Beaufort, South Carolina, a free man and a celebrated war hero. But his fight for justice was far from over. He quickly realized that true freedom required political power. He bought his former master's house and dedicated himself to ensuring civil rights and educational opportunities for his people. Smalls' leadership was undeniable. He served in the South Carolina House of Representatives and then in the state Senate, tirelessly advocating for the rights of African Americans during Reconstruction. His legislative efforts led to the establishment of public schools, including those for Black children, and the protection of voting rights. Robert Smalls eventually served 5 terms in the United States House of Representatives, becoming one of the most prominent Black politicians of his era. He continued to fight against racial injustice and for the rights of all citizens, even as the promise of Reconstruction faded into the harsh realities of Jim Crow. Smalls' life story, from enslaved wheelman to congressman, is a powerful testament to the human spirit's capacity for courage and resilience. He not only seized his own freedom, but dedicated his life to securing it for countless others. His audacious act on the CSS Planter remains one of the most extraordinary stories of the Civil War. Robert Smalls' hijacking of the CSS Planter was more than just an escape. It was a strategic blow against the Confederacy, a propaganda victory for the Union, and a beacon of hope for millions. It proved that enslaved people were not just victims, but intelligent, capable individuals willing to risk everything for liberty. Robert Smalls' story challenges our perceptions of heroism and resistance. What part of his incredible journey resonated most with you? Was it his daring act of hijacking the ship, his unwavering commitment to his family, or his relentless fight for civil rights after the war? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation.